Hello to everybody. I am delighted to introduce our new president of the IPA, Dr. Stefano Bolognini.
Thank you. I thank Juan Weissmann, the treasurer of the IPA, and also I want to thank all those who were engaged in panels and who interrupted their work. They will continue after this presentation, but thank you for being here. Dear colleagues, I imagine there is a certain curiosity about who we are, we the new administration, and what our plans are for the future of the IPA. We are here today to tell you. First, however, allow me to express our thanks to our Czech colleagues who have welcomed us to this beautiful Mitteleuropäische city so miraculously preserved in spite of wars and dictatorships, much the same as psychoanalysis, allowing us to rediscover the atmosphere of the origins. It was near here in Przybor that Freud was born, and it is from here, 157 years later, that we set out once more towards our future. Even though this speech is part of traditional protocol on these occasions, on a more informal note, I wish to openly express to you all how deeply moved and honored I feel to be taking on these institutional functions, together with the Vice President Alexandra at Billinghurst, the Treasurer Juan Weissmann, and their representatives of the IPA Board. I express our shared gratitude for the trust you have placed in us and our desire to work with the utmost commitment to develop psychoanalysis and the IPA, this great association that has united us for over a century from so many points of view: historical, scientific, educational, professional, organizational, and identitary. We feel a sense of continuity with the values of those generations of officers who have preceded us, and we will combine our analytic passion and our love for this shared home of ours with the sense of responsibility that is needed to manage such a large, well-structured and prestigious institution. Since the time available to us here today is limited, and this is an immensely valuable opportunity to convey to all of you in person our overall vision, inspirational principles, and at least some details of our plans for the future, I will come straight to the point in addressing some fundamental issues. A general overview. We live in an era that is profoundly different from the ones that came before, characterized by a speed of information and of communication that has completely transformed the way we relate to one another. In a few short years, there have been radical changes in political and educational systems, in the pace of everyday life, in sexual habits, in agreements for the cohabitation and separation of couples, families, and work groups, in the core values shared by different communities, in the new social characterization and multi-stratifications, as well as the increasingly diversified and dynamically interactive cultural and ethnic identities. It is by no means a coincidence that we have decided to entitle the next IPA Congress in Boston 2015, Changing World, the shape and the use of psychoanalytic tools today. While our era offers extraordinary positive opportunities, it also exposes us to undeniable risks in terms of identitary confusion, loss of contact with reality, and consequent imbalances or reactive defensive entrenchment. It is an era with fewer wars in the developed world, but with rampant, far-reaching destructiveness that is now chronic, tied to drugs, terrorism, and legalized, commercialized perversions. The attack on thought has taken on new forms, more sophisticated than the generically repressive ones that prevailed in the past. The balance of power between the superego and the other agencies, on both a social and intrapsychic level, appears to encounter new imbalances, different to those explored at the beginning of psychoanalysis. New pathologies present themselves in our consultation rooms, requiring a level of understanding and continuous theoretical and technical adaptation that is not always easy for the analyst. The acceptance of physiological dependence in analysis, as in life in general, has diminished, perhaps a result of defenses and the different investments and narcissistic organizations in a world in which the basic objects are missing or disappear, mainly for reasons of work, much earlier than in the past, with respect to the primary physiological functionality and the continuity of relations necessary to babies. The duration and rhythm of treatments today are jeopardized by these new defenses, and it is not uncommon that, in many cases, analysts have to begin treatment with a reduced frequency to then lead the patient progressively towards a regular analytic regime suited to their needs and to the method. The experiences of omnipotence fostered by the virtual sphere and the ease of remote communication open up new possibilities, but they also raise new methodological interrogatives for psychoanalysts who are faced with a request for treatment over the phone or Skype, the credibility and limitations of which are now the subject of heated theoretical clinical debate. Recognition of the validity of psychoanalysis is challenged in the ministerial decisions of many countries. Universities seem to dedicate an overwhelming number of teaching posts to behaviorist school, and competition from professional psychotherapeutic associations with much lower training and professional standards than those of the IPA is ubiquitous and pervasive. Despite all this, the positive resources that are available to psychoanalysis and the IPA are such as to allow us a feeling of well-founded regard for ourselves, our method, and our future. We are sustained by the strength of the psychoanalytic idea, by the evidence of the existence of the unconscious, of transference, of defenses, of the process and the transformations that are set in motion where two people meet regularly and learn to work together to develop thoughts, affects, and shared exchanges within a regime of cognitive and relational honesty. We are sustained by the strength of experience, which for each one of us has its roots in a personal analytic story that more often than not has changed our lives. Yes, psychoanalysis has changed our lives as human beings, and this is something far too intense to be forgotten or denied or lost. Like a new complex instinct, this experience naturally leads us to provide listening, attunement, resonance, understanding, shared work, and interpretative formulation from generation to generation. Much like parents who, having been cared for and nurtured as children, love to care for and nurture their newborns. We are sustained by a tremendous wealth of research and theoretical and clinical knowledge passed down for over a century now. Some oft-repeated citations in our papers which refer to the thinking of a certain genius born not far from here in 1856, do not help us so much to climb the ranks of the impact factors, but they reward us with a compact factor effect that unites our scientific community, like a single trunk that supports the foliage of a flourishing and many-branched tree, yet one that is sure of its origin and its solid roots. We are sustained by the international nature of our organization, one that is unique in ensuring extraordinary opportunities in terms of contacts, debate, and continuous collaboration for analysts across all the continents. And here I want to temporarily stop because I would ask Alexandra to intervene with her intervention, and then I will come back to you. Please.
Thank you.